It's been a minute since I've done a FreeBSD video, so this one's going to be kind of interesting. I'm going to look at how to host RustDesk Server on FreeBSD. If you're not familiar with RustDesk, let's head over and take a look. It's basically similar to TeamViewer. So the fast open source remote access and support software. It basically allows you to connect to other machines and control them remotely. So like Screen Connect, TeamViewer, things like that. Now it is secure. It uses a public and private key in order to secure your connection, and you need to know the public key to be able to connect to the server. That being said, so it claims to be fast and open source. Most of it is. It has a paid version and a free version, but you can host it yourself. The paid version, you can customize it, you can have logos, but both the free and the paid version are completely open to self-hosting. So you get data sovereignty, enhanced security, performance and reliability, and flexibility and customization. So if you go for the pro version, then you can set a logo and customize the client. The free version does not allow you to do this. The free version also doesn't have a web interface for configuration. It's not the be all and end all. You can still get away with using the free version. Who are self-hosting? 37% are IT support people, 25% are IT administration people, 29% for remote work, and 9% are industrial workers and other. But let's just dive in and take a look. Now to do this, I'm doing it on a system that isn't connected directly to the internet. So the IP address I will be using, 10.1.10.102, I think I'm using, is obviously an internal address. If you're going to do this, then you can set it up on an internal address, and you're going to need to set port forwarding up on your router. If you're watching this and you're interested in self-hosting, I'm assuming you know how to do that. I can't go through and show you how to configure a router. There's literally a million different types. Let's dive right in.
Sheridan Computers, IT, Communications, Support.
I'm going to leave a link to our forum, which has got the full procedure, which you can pretty much copy and paste the commands. I've tested it multiple times. One thing to note with the free version, because you're using your own public key and things, you might think it's awkward to distribute it to a client. It's actually not. You can download the client, host it yourself, put it behind Nginx, for example, Nginx Proxy Manager, and you can set authentication up that way so people need to authenticate in order to download the client from you. Now, the reason that you're might want to do that is, I say, I'll leave the link to this in the description below. If you do find this video useful, please head over to Buy Me a Coffee. I'll leave the link for that, and you can buy me a coffee as well. But you can name the client. If you scroll down to the bottom here, we've got using the RustDesk client. So when running the RustDesk client from a PC, you can pull a key from var.db rust, which I do explain how to do that in the video. So this is the command that I use in the video to actually get your public key. And then what you can do is actually name the client like this, as shown on this forum post. And basically you put the host in, so it knows the host IP to connect to. You put your public key in, name it .exe, and then when somebody downloads your client and they run it, it will automatically connect to your server. So one of the advantages of the paid version is it does it all automatically for you. With the free version, you can still do it, I say, using Nginx Proxy Manager just to protect the client, because you don't want people to get your public key to be able to connect to hosts with your public key. Let's jump in and start the install. Okay, so let me get to root. All right, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is create cloned interfaces for the loopback interface to run the jails on. So I'm going to do sysrc cloned underscore interfaces equals LO1, and then I'll set the IP range for it. So I'm going to again do sysrc cloned underscore addresses underscore LO1 equals 172.16.1.0, which is 24. So obviously you can use whatever IP range you want here. I'm just going to go with that one. So sysrc clone underscore address LO1. Okay, so now if we restart networking, it should appear. So service netif restart. Okay, so you can see we've got LO1. So we're good so far. So we've created our interfaces. The next thing we're going to need to do is to create our jail. So if you're using ZFS, it's easy to create your jails on a separate data set. So I'm going to do ZFS create tag O and then mount point equals /jails, and then zroot /jails. Now we need to go ahead and create the directory for our RustDesk jail. So I'm going to make the /jails/RustDesk. And then we can go ahead and do a BSD install. So we're going to install it using the BSD install utility. So we do BSD install jail, and then give it the jail location. So it's jails, RustDesk. I'm just going to leave that as default. So now I'll just do the base FreeBSD install. Okay, so you're going to want to give yourself a root password. So go ahead and type your password in. And for services, because it's a jail, I pretty much don't need anything to be running. So I'm just going to OK that. I don't need any users. So with that, we now have the BSD jail set up. So the next thing we need to do is create our jail.conf file. So we're going to do vi / etc. jail.conf. So we're going to set up a generic jail.conf so we can use it if we decide to create other jails. And I tend to copy this anyway. So I'm going to do tabs = 4 and set CSE 4. So we need to define jail vars that we'll use throughout config. Come on, Sam, spell it properly. Okay, so we want to put the path to the jail. So we're going to do path equals, and then we want jails, and we're going to use $name. So we can make that easy to refer to the jails. Now, some applications might need access to devfs, so we'll mount this. Doesn't in this case, but again, we're heading for expandability and scalability. So mount.devfs, and then we want to mount.fstab equals etc. fstab $name. So that $name is where obviously referring to here. So that was, for example, we're creating a jail called RustDesk, so we're going to have fstab.rustdesk. Now we're not using it in this case, but you might want to use nullfs to pass directories from the host through to the jail. So again, we're just doing this for scalability. So mount, don't forget the semicolons at the end, like I do. So mount.fstab equals / etc. / fstab.name. I want clear environment variables, so exec.clean. And then we're going to use the host's network stack for all jails. So we're going to do IP for inherit, IP6 inherit. My typing's really bad today. We need to set up the initialization scripts for our jails. So we're going to do exec.start. So when the jail starts, we want to execute / etc. / rc. Then we want exec.stop. So this is when we shut down, and we want sh / etc. / rc.shutdown. So the normal FreeBSD shutdown script. And then we can specify our individual jail configurations here. So I'm going to do RustDesk. I'm going to set the host.hostname equals RustDesk. And then the IPv4 address. We're going to loop back 1, which is where we set it to. And if you recall right, I did 172.16, and we're going to go 1.1 for this jail. So if you want other jails, obviously you can do 1.2, 1.3, and just carry on. And want to allow raw sockets, so we can ping. So I'm going to do allow.raw sockets equals 1. So let me just double check that. So path / jails / $name mount.devfs mount fstab / etc. fstab name exec clean IP4 inherit IP6 inherit exec start sh etc. rc stop sh etc. rc.shutdown. Jail name RustDesk host.hostname equals RustDesk IP4 address is on loopback 1 172.16 1.1 and allow raw sockets. So we're good with that config. And in our jail.conf, you'll remember that I did specify that we're going to have fstab entries. So I'm just going to have to create that, even though it's a blank one and we're not using it. I'm going to accept touch etc fstab.rustdesk. So we basically just created a blank file there. So next we need to tell the jails to start. So we want sysrc to put these in the rc.conf, and we're going to do jail underscore enable equals yes. And then we want to put the list in as well. So we're going to do jail underscore list equals RustDesk. So we're just telling it what jails to start when the system boots. So if you create more jails, then we can obviously just add them to the list. So now I'm just going to confirm that start. So service jail start RustDesk. And if we do JLS, we should be able to see it. So you can. We've got our RustDesk jail is on 172.16.1.1. With that, we need to set up some firewall rules. So we're using PF, and I'm going to do vi etc /pf.conf. Now, I'm going to paste this, but I'll go through it. Okay. So we did specify our external interface first. So so I'm in a virtual machine, so my interface is xn0. So whatever your external interface is, use that. Jailnet. So here we're specifying 172.16.1.0. So I'm going to put all my jails in that range. So RustDesk can start on 1.1, and then if you've got any more jails, obviously you put on 1.2, whatever. Excuse me. So I put in a macro for the TCP ports that's used by RustDesk. So what we're doing here is just specifying the TCP ports. So 21115, 21116, 21117, 1118, and 1119. And then the UDP ports, which 21116 needs to accept UDP traffic as well. And then here, just to make it easy for himself, I've created an alias for rd underscore jail, which is on 172.16.1.1, which is our jail IP address. I've specified set skip on LO0, so we don't want to do any filtering on the loopback interface. And then we've got this NAT rule. So NAT on external interface from jailnet to any. So that's allowing our jails to access the internet. And then here I've got redirect on the external interface TCP. So protocol TCP from any. So we're allowing any host. So we're redirecting any hosts that go to the external interface on those ports that we've specified. And we're forwarding them to the loopback 1 interface. And the same for UDP traffic. So this line here, any traffic that hits the external interface that's in our UDP ports up here will also get forwarded back to loopback 1, the LO1 interface. And then we've got allow traffic from 1. So obviously we're going to need to allow some traffic in. So we've got redirect. Now, to be honest, I could have shortened this firewall rule down and done redirect pass. So we didn't need the other rules, and it would have just passed them straight away. But I'm trying to make this config as flexible as possible, so that obviously we can put some block rules or do whatever we want and expand on this config a little bit. So we're passing in on the external interface protocol TCP from any to our RD jail host port RD TCP ports, and then passing on external interface proto, and that should be UDP. Made a mistake already. So UDP from any to our jail. The ports are our UDP ports that's specified up here. And then obviously we need to allow some traffic out. So here, this is a demo. So I'm just passing out all traffic on the external interface, IPv4, which is what the INET stands for. So proto, TCP, UDP, and ICMP. So we're just allowing anything out at this stage. So all this is going to be on the forums listed properly. If you want to add existing rules into there, for example, if you wanted to allow SSH in, then obviously you can just do pass in on external interface, INET, proto, TCP from any to external interface port SSH, and that'll allow traffic in if you need to SSH into it, into the host that is, not into the jail. So everything I'm doing here is going to be from the jail, from the host, and not the jail itself. And then once you've created the firewall rules, make sure you double test them. So pf_ctl minus nf, etc. for pf_ctl. Sorry, pf.conf. Excuse me. So that'll just check our rules. Now, if there are any errors in your rules, for example, if I just do, we do that again, you'll see we've got a syntax error on line 17. So I'll go back down and remove that. I was just showing you what happens if there is an error. So we do pfctl -n -f. So we're not actually activating the rules. Once we've tested it, then we can go ahead and do sysrc pf_enable equals yes. And that will basically enable pf on startup. And then we want sysrc pf_rules equals etc. pf.conf. Again, that's kind of optional, but if you want to change the location where your rules are set, then obviously you can do it through that line. And then we want service pf start, and that'll start pf. So obviously we can check the status with service pf status, and we can do pfctl -s nat to check the nat rules. So we can see how everything's been expanded, our macros. And then we can do pfctl -s rules to actually check the rules. So we need to make sure that our jail has connectivity as well. So we can do jls to list the jails, and then we can do jexec RustDesk. And then if I do ping google.com, you can see we do indeed have internet access. So we should be good to continue. Don't forget to type exit to come out of here, because we're not doing the configuration in the jail. We're doing it on the host. If you do have problems with internet connectivity at that point, we can do jexec. I'm just going to do RustDesk. So the jexec executes a command in the jail rather than on the host. So I'm going to do jexec cat /etc/resolve.conf. So just make sure that your DNS service is set properly there if you can't resolve on host names. So next thing we need to do is to make sure that our packages are up to date in the jail. So we're going to do package. Make sure you put the -j after it to make sure that package is updating the jail and not the actual host. So we do package -j RustDesk. So we give it the file, the jail name, and then we're just going to do update. That will just make sure our jail packages are up to date. So we've updated the packages, so now we're good to install RustDesk. So we're going to do package -j. Don't forget that -j, it is important. I'm going to do RustDesk, and then we want install. So RustDesk's the name of our jail. So if we do package -j RustDesk, and then we do search RustDesk, you'll see that we've got RustDesk -server. So we're going to do package -j RustDesk install, and then RustDesk -server. Push yes to go ahead and install it. And it literally installed that quick. So you'll notice it's also created a group called RustDesk, and it's created a user called RustDesk. So we're not going to be running as root anyway. The services will be running as RustDesk. Moving on, we need to tell RustDesk to start when the system boots. So when our jail starts, we want RustDesk to start straight away. So again, we're going to do jexec to make sure that we execute the commands in the jail and not on our host. Then RustDesk, so jexec RustDesk being the name of the server. Name of the jail, sorry. And then we want sysrc to update the rc.conf file, and then we want RustDesk _hbbr_enable equals yes. And you'll get this RustDesk _hbbr_enable. Yes, and that's showing that it's been changed. So the HBBR is the relay server, and then we need to start the actual server itself. So again, I'm just going to press up, and I'm going to RustDesk _hbbs_enable equals yes. And I'm just going to set the IP address. So we set our IP address, if you remember right, is on 172.16.1.1. So I'm just going to specify the IP address to listen on as well. So I'm going to do sysrc, and on RustDesk _hbbs_ip, then equals 172.16.1.1. So we're basically telling the RustDesk server to listen onto our jail IP. And now we can go ahead and start those. So did you see the mistake that I just made there? I didn't put the jexec. So what I've actually done is put that in my own rc.config on the host. Just be careful you don't do that. So we'll do that again, but make sure we put jexec in front of it and the name of the jail. So make sure it's done on the jail. Now with that, we can start our services. So we're going to do jexec RustDesk, and then we want service RustDesk, it's HBBR start. So now that's starting, and we're going to do the same. So just press up. We want the HBBS start for the server. Now with that, we should be listening. So Control L does a screen clear, by the way. So you can do net start -an So you can see here, we've got TCP, the 4 and 6 is for IPv4 and IPv6. So we're listening on 2118, 2115, 2116, 21119, 21117, and then again we've got UDP down here. So ignore the SSH, that's my host and not the jail. So the jail listening ports will actually appear here as well. So we're good with that. Our server's now set up and running. So we're pretty much good at this stage. Obviously you need to make sure that them ports are forwarded from your router if you need to, if you're behind NAT. So you're going to need the public key to enter into the RustDesk client. So in order to get that, jexec, and then RustDesk again for the jail name, and then cat. So we're going to use the cat command, and we're just going to cat out the key, which is in /var/db rustdesk -server, and it's just called id_ed25519. That always reminds me of Robocop for some reason. .pub. So we've got our key, and this is our key here. So we're going to need to copy that in order to put it into the client. So if I go ahead and copy that, so we're going to need to go into settings, network, unlock the network settings. So press unlock, and then we've got this ID and relay server. So click on that. And for the ID server, this is going to be your public IP address. So I've just set this up, as I say, in a demo environment. So the ID is 10.1.10.102 for this. If once you're setting it up and you've forwarded the ports correctly on your firewall, then obviously you put your public IP address in. The relay server is also going to be the same. So 10.1.10.102. The API server and key, we can leave the API server. The key is not the API key. The key is your public key. So you need to paste in the contents of this ID_ed25519 Robocop guy. So make sure you copy that and paste it into here. And then we're just going to put that in there. Click OK. And that should be us up and running. So what we can do, just as a quick test, in fact, if I just edit this and I just delete that and slip in test for the key, we can tell if our relay server is working and server's working properly by going to home and trying to connect to something. You can put anything you want in here and do connect. So we've got this connection error, key mismatch. So that means that obviously our key is not the same as this key here. So, but we are connecting, so you can tell the server's working that way. So now if we go back into settings here and make sure we've got the right key in, and click OK. Now if I go back, now try and connect. Got ID does not exist. So that does actually show that we're working. It's an easier way to tell. If we put an ID that does actually exist and we hit connect, it's going to time out. Now the reason for that is because I've not entered the key into the client that I'm trying to connect to. So you do need to make sure that you put the key in all the clients that are using this. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And I'll go and put the actual key in. You can tell it's working because it recognized the ID, but as I say, the key was wrong. So I put the key in, and now if we do a connect, it's asking for the password. So you need to get the password from the remote user at this point. Once you've obtained the password, it was a hit, okay. Wrong password, let me try that again. And that's it, we're connected. If you're not familiar with this, obviously I'm on a 4K and the other end is really, really small here. So I can go to resolution, scale adaptive, then we get full size screen. So if you've not used this before, you've got your control actions. So request elevation, operating system password, send clipboard keystrokes. We can transfer files, we can do TCP tunneling. We can restart the remote device. We can insert a lock, a wake lock that'll be to stop the machine actually screensavers kicking in or going to sleep. We can block user input, and we can also switch sides of the user. And obviously you can just refresh. Under display settings, you can scale original, scale adaptive. You can choose your image quality, the codec that you want to use. You can set the resolution, whether or not you want to show the remote cursor, zoom cursor, show quality monitor. So that will literally just show you the quality of your connection. Mute if there's sound, disable clipboard, lock after session ends. So when you disconnect, the remote machine will automatically lock. You can choose to use all your displays if you've got multiple displays and you connect into another machine. Privacy mode pretty much blanks the screen. or you get a message on the screen saying warning, like privacy mode, just so people can't see what you're doing if you need to do anything that's sensitive. Then you've got chat and start recording. Obviously, just quit.